I hear a vehicle with pizza coming. So let's get this over with, Aaron. Hello, I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me as usual is Aaron William Freeland. He's the better half of the group. Aaron,
How you doing today, Frank?
thank you for being here.
Yeah, much appreciated.
It's nice to be seen,
Most definitely.
even heard sometimes. We're going to find out today. Okay, let's start with hockey. And let's start with a team that has been, I don't know, would it be fair to call them Jekyll and Hyde, the Edmonton Oilers?
I definitely think that's a very apt assessment. There are days when they've seemed like world beaters, and there are days when they've seemed incredibly human. But this time around, working with their power play, they actually managed to beat the Habs 5-3. They've scored 3 power play goals in the second period alone. Um, and
Five for both teams. Five for both. The
yeah,
power plays, and the Canadians had one in like 17 before that.
and it's crazy. Both McDavid and Draisaitl had 4 points each, so they factored in on pretty much
They're
every single goal, with the exception of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Darnell Nurse also scoring for the Oilers. So the Oilers are now 14-11-0 and have won 4 of their last 5 outings, and it appears that Skinner has picked it up. So he made a decent passel of saves for them.
goaltending has been a problem for them. Jack Campbell went through spells like this with the Maple Leafs. Um, but when you give a guy the kind of contract that they gave Campbell, you expect him to leave that kind of play behind. And unfortunately, he looked a little bit small in the net, which opened an opportunity for Skinner. I'll also add the fact that after the past couple of years, is there any question the best tandem in hockey right now? Draisaitl, McDavid.
Yeah, those two are like beans on toast. They're either really awesome and exactly what you need, or you're wondering why the heck you've got it. But yeah, they have been one of the most dynamic duos in the NHL, bar none.
Last year's Matthews and this year's Marner could compete with them, but right now you've got one going crazy on a heater and another not. Let's continue on your pace and what you wanted to talk about. The Senators. We'll get to the Leafs in a minute.
All right. Well, Giroux got 3 points to lead the Senators past the Sharks 5-2 for their second win in a row. They seem to be clicking right now. Kachuk, Stutzla, and Thomas Chabot also scored for the Senators, while Forsberg made 35 saves. So there were also 17,000 fans in attendance at the Canadian Tire Center, so that's a bonus as well.
Absolutely lovely.
Um,
Makes it great for us, a great sales pitch for selling the team. And they're planning to move downtown, where many believe that's where they'll get a better, more consistent audience. Being out the boonies, I think we've learned in sports that's not such a good idea. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about the Jets, who burned the Anaheim Ducks.
Yep. So the Jets actually had to come back in this one, which is not their usual. But they were down 2-0 early in the second and outshot 18-7 in the first period. So it was not a good defensive start for them. Jacob Silverberg and Brett Leeson scored for the Ducks, who are currently last and are currently on a winless streak of 0-4-2. They had a really good first period. They just couldn't sustain the effort. Anthony Stolar stopped 35 of 35 shots in goal for the Ducks. He's been a bit of a bright light for them. It's been a very, very difficult season. It's good to see the Jets doing how they're doing. As a matter of fact, I think that actually bounces them all the way up into 9th place overall. So that's a good jump for them from where they were before at
Playoff position.
15-7-1.
Yeah, they've been dancing outside the playoff structure. Speaking of heaters and burns, the Flames, led by Mangiapane, they won.
Yeah. So they've been guilty of not taking advantage of their scoring opportunities. However, Andrew Mangiapane scored twice, and Adam Ruzicka had a goal and 2 assists. Uh, Calgary lost on Thursday 2-1, despite sending 46 shots on goal. Washington won 3-0 back on November 25th. So this was a bit of a revenge game. Uh, so it's they realized that there were some corrections that they had to make to their shooting patterns. A lot of their shots were going high and going wide for whatever reason. This time around, they managed to put a lot of the shots on goal, which had a net positive effect. So glad to see them doing that. They put themselves into a bit of a hole with some of the lineup changes that they made. Unfortunately, that has them sitting back in 20th. But they've slowly started to try to right the ship. They've gone 500 over the past 10 games. So we'll see where this takes them.
Horvat has been really hot for the Canucks, and he continues, and he's not signed yet. Boy, is he earning a future contract.
This is definitely one of those show years for him. He's scoring goal of the game at 4:09 of overtime to finally get a win over the Arizona Coyotes. Despite where they sit in the standings, the Coyotes have that ability to sting you if you're not careful. They are currently in front of Columbus, Chicago, and Anaheim. I'm not sure what's going on in Chicago, but they're 7-13-4 this year. Arizona's at 7-11-4, and the Canucks are sitting at 10-12-3. So it's the battle of the bottom feeders there, but there appear to be potentially brighter days.
Let's have us a little Leaf talk aside from Friday. The Maple Leafs, Mitch Marner, broke a point streak record. 19 games. Old Chuck Sittler, hold on to his beer for him, would you?
Yeah, it was great to see him break the record with a shorthanded goal, nonetheless. The problem that we've got here, though, is that the chance to celebrate was kind of removed by the fact that Tampa Bay won in overtime. I mean, there's some consolation in that at least we earned a point in the win. In the loss, but at the same time, man, it would have been nice if they'd been able to pull a win out for Mitch. That would have been absolutely fantastic.
Now, I've tried not to be negative about the Maple Leafs, but I'm not afraid to point out certain issues. And the issue that I'm going to point out right now is that was the 6th loss in 7 overtimes for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think we can both agree that overtime offers a wee bit more pressure than regular time. And the results reflect the lack of success the Leafs have had at key moments in a season. And those key moments are always the playoffs. Aaron, what do they got to do to straighten that number up and reverse it? Like 1-6 is not good in overtime. That's 6 of 7 points they've left behind.
Yeah, no, and it's either over really, really quickly, or they barely manage to fumble their way through it. But most of the time, it's over really, really quickly, and it's defensive miscues and bad giveaways that really sink them when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm not sure exactly what needs to be done, but I do think that Keefe needs to take a slightly harder look at who he's starting his overtimes with, because I get the feeling a lot of these issues could be solved if he runs out a different starting 3. We'll have to see if anything changes in the future, but that's my thinking on it for now.
Yeah, no, I concur with you, and I think, I talked about in football. I talked about Evans, the Canadian Football League, Hamilton Tiger Cats quarterback. And I talked about him all season that he was having some real trouble. I mean, emotionally, not physically. He had injuries, but I think emotionally he was having a hard time with confidence. I said it for a while, and at the end of the year, Evans came right out and said, "He said, you know what? From the beginning of the season, I just couldn't get it together." The point I'm mentioning that is because in sports, there's a mental block that can develop. That mental block is an easy one. an easy one with the Leafs is can't win a series. But along with that come the subtleties of players who have I don't know. Like for example, with Matthews, I find him playing really well, and then even when he's playing really well, and Marta the same thing, they make mistakes that belie their ability and the way they're playing. I don't mean it as a
Mm.
negative. I'm just saying that that kind of mistake that Matthews made when he passed it into the middle of the ice in his own zone. Um, that's something that you can't do. And when it comes time to big moments in hockey games, in all kind of sports, there's a way that you have to play. You got to ratchet it up a little bit and play not just defensive, but play secure. And sometimes I think it's that pass back mentality the Leafs have. They forget that people are aware that they do it. So and sometimes they get burnt, and really good teams are waiting for it to happen. They don't care about they won't use it up in the neutral zone, but they'll look for it in the Leaf zone. And I think that's the success they have. There's a coaching thing that needs to be modified there. I think Keefe is the guy that's got to figure out a way to teach the guys to ensure they understand that making that play at certain times can't happen. Back in the day, we used to say, "Don't carry the puck in front of your net." When I was much younger, and the defense weren't allowed to do that, and now they do it. So it's not about the Leafs not playing the way they like to play. It's about modifying it so that it doesn't burn them in high disadvantage situations.
The other thing to look at too here is Matthews' shooting percentage is off. Now he's
Oh,
picked up a little bit as of late, but he's only shooting at a 10.7%. Last year, I believe he was shooting around a 16 or 17%. So that is also an indication that something is off there, at least when it comes to his offensive production. I mean, you look down the rest of the list at how everybody on the Leafs is shooting. Nylander's shooting at a 17.3%. Liljegren's shooting at a 16.7% pace. Marner's at 15.6. John Tavares is at 13.8, which is about the median for him. That's usually where he sits when it comes to shooting percentage. But again, Matthews at 10.7 is a little bit off. So that makes you wonder. It's been hashed to death, and it's unlikely that it's his wrist. But there is that ongoing concern as to the lower shooting percentage. So
again, there's a lot of reasons why players don't play as well,
yep.
or they're inconsistent, or they play really well in one year and then they can't play that well the next. There's always reasons. A lot of times, Aaron, what you raised, it's physical, but I guess it can also be mental and
Mhm.
the pressure. We applaud players who are in a contract year, like we just talked about in Vancouver, right? Where
Yeah.
Horvat's he's playing for a contract. His contract runs out. Well, I guess Matthews has another year after this one, and he can't afford to have this kind of year happen and then followed up again next year. Because then it creates a problem for the Maple Leafs. Do we pay him like he used to play, or do we pay him like he's playing? So that's going to be a bit of an issue going down the road. But I believe that he can work out of it, especially if it's because of what you said, health reasons. Even if it's emotional stuff, if it's mental problems that he needs to work out, I believe the Leafs have a lot of sports psychologists there that earn a lot of money that can help him out, and he needs to gain some confidence and be more effective. He's trying real hard. He's worked much harder on his defensive play. We see him maybe almost what it is that maybe he's trying too hard defensively and not having enough left when he has the puck. So there's that delicate balance that needs to be figured out with athletes.
No, most definitely, and they've certainly got enough staff there that if there is an issue, he'll be able to see his way through it because they've got the folk that can help him. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, my my
they better. They need him to play as well as he can, at
yes,
least close to it. Right. It's
I
really
mean
important. Let's
that's the long and the short of it is they need him to play a little bit better than he's currently playing, and he's almost there. I'm sure he's right on the cusp of breaking out. So,
like I said, I think he's paying a lot of attention to defense, and not
yeah,
that he shouldn't pay attention to it. It's about expending energy.
yeah,
You don't shoot as well when you're tired. You don't see as well when it comes to that as well. Your reaction time is a little slower when you're tired. Maybe it's short shifting. I don't know. Maybe maybe he's not handling the extra shifts that Keith's been doing this a lot. Like he's been putting Marner, Matthews, and Tavares and Nylander out there almost at the same time in some instances, like for faceoffs in the opposition zone. And those are shifts that he's sort of sprinkling in the middle of the regular shifts. So
Yeah.
it's something to think about. Us wannabe coaches and experts, we can offer our opinion, but the players don't have to listen to us. So we really don't know how right we are or wrong.
Usually wrong, but it's hard to gauge
Well,
what's
thank
going
you.
on between a player's ears, right? And I'm usually
Absolutely.
referring to myself when it comes to
And
being
my
wrong.
no, you can throw me in there too. Let's move over to the Canadian Football League. Baron Miles, named Red Blacks defensive coordinator. The Red Blacks have been busy bringing coaches in.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to coach their way out of their problems. Given the player base that they have, there's a good solid foundation for them. It could very well be that you just need different voices in the dressing room to help them get over the top. But they're bringing in Baron Miles, which is good.
Kari Jones,
Yep, Kari Jones and
offensive
Bob
coordinator,
Dice.
an assistant coach, and the head
Yep.
coach. Yep, Bob Dice. They're making moves every year. They make moves. So far, they make moves I think I like. But the biggest problem they had this year, Aaron, is they didn't have a starting quarterback.
No, they certainly did not,
And
and it's no discredit, not talking down to the quarterback that they were using. He was just the best option that they had available at the time. Unfortunately, nobody else was really ready or available to step up, and that's
we saw a great example of what Ottawa needs with the Toronto Argonauts. You have to have a starting quarterback that gets you there, and in case he trips on for whatever reason, whether it's injury or it's a real bad dry spot in a big game, you have a second guy that can play the game on a short-term basis and be effective and surprise the opposition. You don't need to have two quarterbacks that are the very best quarterbacks in the league, but they need to provide their part in the deal. And we saw with the Toronto Argonauts winning the Grey Cup with a quarterback that didn't get a lot of credit and a backup quarterback who didn't see a lot of time. And that's Ottawa's that's how far away they are from being very competitive. The coaches help. Don't get me wrong.
no, and part of that too. Those coaches will know how to get the best out of their players. They'll be able to see and adjust and adapt and get the right bodies in there and get the right offensive systems in there and tailor it towards their quarterback. So I'm actually looking for great things for Ottawa in the season ahead, and actually looking forward to the next season with a good deal of anticipation.
Yeah, it'll be great. The Alouettes sign Sewell.
Yep. So that's a 2-year deal. That's we're of course referring to American defensive tackle Almondo Sewell. He's 6'4", 288 pounds. He registered 19 defensive tackles and 3 quarterback sacks in 16 games with the Alouettes in 2022. Now this guy's he's been around the league. He played 9 seasons in Edmonton before coming to Montreal in 2021. So he's well versed in what goes into making a good back in the CFL. So the fact that they've given him 2 years, I think, is an indication of the faith that they have in him.
Great player. Been a great player wherever he's played. Stamp sign wide receiver Andrew Parchment or Parchment.
I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but hey, earlier this year, Parchment had actually signed with the Carolina Panthers as an undrafted free agent. But they announced recently that they had signed him. Parchment played a senior college season at Florida State, appearing in 12 games and starting 4 with the Seminoles. He caught 24 receptions for 313 yards and 2 touchdowns. He actually started back in 2018. He played at Iowa Central Community College. So glad to see him taking the step into the CFL and expecting good things going forward.
Riders extend DB Jordan Boylo.
So this is a 1-year contract extension for Beaulieu. He was set to become a free agent on February 14th. He joined the Riders this past summer in July and went on to play 10 games. He had 10 tackles, 4 defensive tackles, and 6 special teams. He was originally selected by the Elks in the 2018 CFL draft. He spent 2018 and 2019 with them, and he recorded 2 defensive tackles and 10 special teams tackles over 30 games.
Oh boy, we only got a couple of minutes left. We could spend a week on this. Ye used to be known as Kanye. I like Hitler, he says.
Yeah,
Time to tap your helmet. And by the way, he wore one.
I'm not sure if going on InfoWars with Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes and
when Alex Jones sounds more like the more reasonable person,
like
there's a problem.
The issue that they have here is that an influential artist and well-known public figure like Kanye espousing support for Hitler can inspire more anti-Semitism amongst his followers, and that's the last thing that you want.
Absolutely.
So, vaunted guardian of free speech, Elon Musk actually banned his Twitter account after that. So
immediately after reviving it, let's real quick get this one under the wire. Alberta changing sovereignty bill. This is the same kind of situation where they felt they were working towards independence. Something happened on the way to accomplishing that goal for the premier of Alberta.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth about the fact that they would be able to change things without public consultation. And Danielle Smith basically came out and said, well, you never get things 100% right 100% of the time. So we're working on some amendments to the bill to make it clear. Now, all of this is a lot of key jingling, and it takes away from the hospital crisis that's currently going on in Alberta. It's also a boon to Doug Ford, who is sort of skating by on the fact that he's asked the Red Cross to help a kids' hospital in Ontario. So all of this key jingling is just distracting.
Yeah, and Trudeau and Ford got together. Electric cars are doing well. I just want to throw that in under the wire. Aaron, thanks for doing this.
Appreciate that, Frank. Thanks for having me on.
He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.